Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be reading another article from the Lightpaper, a truth paper, the link to which will be in the description. Please visit the website. You can download the paper or you can subscribe and get a paper copy. And of course, do all the normal things, please. People ask you to do with YouTube videos because of the algorithms. Like it, share it, subscribe, click notifications if you want to. Please post a comment. I'll do my best to keep track of them and respond. No promises. Okay, so this is the November 2020 edition. This is page 9. I'm going to be reading an article entitled Protecting Granny by Niam McGarry-Gribbin. Okay, so here we go. Protecting Granny. On the 17th of March 2020, the UK government demanded that 25,000 hospitalised care home residents be discharged back into the community care sector in order to free up hospital beds for the anticipated pandemic curve. Those discharged were not treated for COVID-19 prior to being transferred back to their care homes. Sorry, I'll say that again. Those discharged were not tested for COVID-19 prior to being transferred back to their care homes. This gross failing amounts to genocide, causing the needless deaths of thousands of vulnerable elderly people. According to the Office of National Statistics' latest figures, updated on the 3rd of July 2020, there were 66,112 care home residents' deaths between the 2nd of March to the 12th of June 2020. This includes 28,186 excess deaths. Of these, 19,394 deaths were COVID-19 related, accounting for 29.3% of deaths. I postulate that the remaining excess deaths were directly due to loneliness because of the ban on visitors. Going forward through winter 2020 to 2021, the government is pledging to work with CQC, that's the Care Quality Commission, the Care Home Inspectorate, in developing designated premises for people who have tested positive but are safe to be discharged from hospital. Surely this is a case of locking the stable door after the horse has bolted. There were plenty of such premises available on the 17th of March when the government forcibly moved hospitalised care home residents back into the community. Why weren't the much lauded Nightingale hospitals used for this purpose? These makeshift hospitals, costing millions of pounds, that largely remained empty, would have been the ideal care setting for these patients until they were deemed fit enough and safe to return to their care home environments. The Department of Health is only now proposing those being discharged from hospital into care homes be tested. Such basic safety measures should have been enforced prior to demanding the discharge of those 25,000 elderly and vulnerable people on the 17th of March 2020. I will interject here. It's reminding me of the case now where I believe I heard it's approximately a quarter of all cases, that's positive test results, of COVID-19 currently in the UK are from a hospital. So all of these elderly people who went back to care homes with COVID-19 would have contracted that in the hospital itself, as far as I understand it. In anticipation of the winter resurgence of the virus, along with the usual seasonal cases of influenza, the government is pledging £3.7 billion in emergency grant funding alongside £1.1 billion infection control fund with the provision of free PPE, personal protective equipment. Acknowledging that WHO declared the global coronavirus pandemic on the 30th of January 2020. The UK government had plenty of warning in which to prepare and introduce such funding prior to making the demand of discharging all care home residents from hospitals. Their failure to act upon relevant information means they should be tried for corporate manslaughter at best and murder at worst. They had the chance to protect Granny right from the start, but instead chose to drag their heels with Matt Hancock, Health Minister, now refusing to apologise for obvious failings whilst insisting a protective ring was thrown around care homes. Following the publication of their report titled, "As if expendable, the UK government's failure to protect older people in care homes during the COVID-19 pandemic," Amnesty International is demanding an independent inquiry into this shameful debacle. Was it necessary to discharge these vulnerable elderly people back into their care homes at all? Statistical analysis of bed capacity demonstrates that they could have been adequately cared for in the hospitals. With reference to the bed occupancy data recorded on the NHS England's website, my local hospital, where many were brought from China in February to quarantine for a fortnight, was running at 52.2% capacity for the second quarter of this year. Hospitals up and down the country were not overflowing, with the staff run off their feet, as reported by the media. Curiously, statistics of bed occupancy have been consistently reported for every annual quarter since 2011. However, during the peak of the pandemic, such statistics have not been published. Isn't that interesting? It will be interesting to see the occupancy statistics during the 2020 to 2021 winter months, if they are ever published at all. The Department of Health website has now produced guidelines on all aspects of adult social care in respect of the coronavirus. Blanket DNR, that's do not resuscitate, orders have been illegal at least since the withdrawal of the Liverpool Care Pathway. As with all aspects of individualised care, this has to be an informed choice involving residents with capacity, advocates of those without capacity, next of kin, doctors and senior nurses involved with the care, and social workers. The blanket imposition of do not resuscitate notice flies in the face of protecting Granny, with undertones of euthanasia. The Department of Health has explicit protocols in this area which must be followed at all times, even during a pandemic. Medical professionals, clinical commissioning groups and any other relevant authority imposing blanket DNR notices must be held to account. Criminal neglect has arisen by the refusal of medical attention for care home residents. Whether this has come about by care home staff declining to seek assistance or GPs refusing to give necessary care is inconsequential. The fact remains that deliberately withholding medical care is illegal. The elderly, vulnerable and sick, it seems, have been collateral damage in a wholly mismanaged situation from lack of preparation and total disregard for the sick and elderly. Recently, it has come to light that certain councils are offering additional money to care home providers by way of bribery to influence acceptance of known COVID-19 positive elderly into their care homes. Care providers, managers and senior nurses have the right to refuse admission of anyone into their care. However, this is tempered by the fact that local social services may regard them as being uncooperative and refuse to place anyone else in their care home in the future. Care homes, after all, are a business, but the health and safety of those already residing at a care home must always take priority. In absence of these designated premises, the government has outlined the parameters in which known COVID-19 positive patients should be accepted into care homes, ensuring that great provision is given to the safety of those already living there. The often used adage of lessons must be learned certainly does apply, but to little comfort of the bereaved who were denied time to express love and say goodbye to their parent, grandparent, sibling or friend. The fact that any lesson has to be learned at all is a damning indictment of a criminally neglectful government. This whole saga could have been prevented if basic principles of common sense had been applied from the beginning. Fundamental infection control policies should have been observed and followed from as early as the 30th of January 2020, or beforehand. Okay, that's the end of the article. Thank you very much for listening. Do all the normal stuff, like, share, subscribe, notifications, comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.